Okay, so part one of your stuff you're doing this week is review and just finally finishing. First and foremost, just stop and do your geography test until you're getting 100 on it every time. This is C. You don't seem to be forgetting that, so we're literally just talking about these frets. One thing you can do is make yourself go C and G, D and A, E and B. That's a really good way to trick yourself into actually knowing it. So why don't you start with that? Just being like, okay, C, G, D, A, C, E, B, as like step one and stuff to that. Then just give yourself a quiz on the third and fifth fret until you start getting 100 on it every single time. Whatever you're using for a randomizer, that's like, just this one's called A, this one's called C. No intellectualizing the concept at all. It's the exact same thing as when we look in the names of the open strings, just assigning names to things. And then adding E and B is part two. So you need to be getting 100% on that, and this is mad easy. This is 10 minutes of your life, and then go term landmarks. It's like, but then I'll only know those note names. But that's kind of all you need to be able to play in this whole part of the fretboard. Just go in C# and stuff. So yeah, just really finish that before you move on at all. Then going back to our fingerings that we learned in our home bass key of C major. What we've been going for the whole time is this Pavlovian play-in point. I play this finger. It makes me think about pointing there. That's what we've been trying to build in, which I think I've been super clear about. Because when we move to other keys, that's still going to hold true, and you won't be able to think of that C flat or whatever. It's the same exact concept as when I played this one here. This is where the root is. So if I did, they're all the same exact concept. We're just more used to orienting on the bass string with our middle finger or our index finger. So it really goes, you can move these around. This first one, if I play it at some random ass fret, in this case I just played my E major scale. That's the note E right there. Whether I go or look and see how many sharps and flats I have, but we don't need to do that. We'll just take the fifth. It actually works. We're not thinking about I'm starting on the fourth, I'm starting on A. It's the same thing as going. I've played the A minor pentatonic. It's the exact same concept as all of these. So first of all, just go back through and make sure you put that in place for all of them. And the good news is that it's, just hand movement, not, and then I'll think of this as C. When you're going up them, notice where the root is sonically. Notice going like, here's some notes now, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Listen to what's happening. And then it's like 3 notes now, do, re, mi. Extra note, couple notes, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So yeah, or you could say root when you hit it. But this has been our task the whole time. This is what we were trying to do with these fingerings. It's just, it exists. I'm using the correct fingers, and it makes me think about pointing here. Because this whole thing where we're going to be able to just go, I want to play in D, I'm playing 7, I want to play in G, I'm playing 4. Is all going to revolve around the concept that we have this fretboard where if we move things side to side, they keep the same sound, whether it's a or number 7, or the very last one. Also making sure that you have the names of the fingers down when you're going through them. You can just say to yourself in your head, this is number 1, so that we can refer to if you played a number 3 right there,
okay.
Which was always our goal, obviously, or so I would like, so yes, if you wire into your process, this is number 1, just think about it that way when you're playing them, especially when you start to play them out of order, and yes, so we need that so we can communicate about what pattern to play, so that's, go back and plug that in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You might work sectionally, like work on the first 3, the next 2, and the last 2. That tends to be how most people subdivide it. Actually, it was like the first 3 I got to, and these 2 here where it was 2 of these, 2 of those, and then the last 2 that I got to. Yeah, you could do some sectional stuff where you just did those 3 for a minute or whatever, but regardless, And this is just still me saying the same thing I did in the very first lesson, which is like this exists, it's called fingering number 1, and this is the state capital of it, which happens to be the root. Cool, so at 5 minutes into your video, I'm starting this plane point thing. And you can't do this until you actually know these fingerings. So then our default way to run them will start to become start on the root on the way up, and then either come back down and hit every time, or start on the root on the way up, and start on the root and go back down, like that. And this is something you can only do having memorized the fingering already. Just this exists, and I point there. This is more important for us than guitarists because we almost have to go 100% of the time when it's time to play C. So, totally so. And that's what's going to happen. Is just this hand movement. There's this. So you can, only having memorized them, just thinking I do this and this is there, that's a way to hammer home, and that's where the root is. You can also say root to yourself when you hit C, but I think the best way to do that is just sonically recognizing what's going on orally, like do, re, mi. If you start on C in any of our fingerings, it's... I'm just miming with other notes that aren't exactly that. Run out of real estate there. I just end with fingering number 7 of 7, where the root's in this position. So if I was like, how do I move pattern forward, one where the root's here, that everybody knew. To G, you just like that, just put it here. It's all the same exact concept. This pattern here, which seems obscure because it's up in the 12th fret and the root's in this position. It's like, I want to play that in D, just putting that on D and do the same exact stuff. And this number 7 in D is really super useful. It's right. And it's very like actual shit we do versus these big sprawly ones. So all of them you can move around for starters. That's the concept. It's, number 3, this one where the root's there. If I play it at the 2nd fret, I'm playing an A. And that's no more of a complicated concept than if I play this one in G. We're just more accustomed to pointing to these 2 fingers on these 2 strings. Just go back and do all your review stuff. And then I think what I'll do actually is send you an additional video of me doing play and point with, that's a totally talking it out thing. But this is going to be this thing where you hang out at 1 fret, play all 7 of them, and identify what scale you just played, which is still just going to be, I'm playing fingering 1, I'm in D. And if you picked up a music theory book, sure enough, I'm playing 2 sharps and so forth, and now I'm playing number 2, just thinking about the hand movement. I'm in C, like I learned it there. 3, just thinking about the hand movement would make sense. 4, just thinking about the 5's the one that starts with it. 6 is a little weird, but and 7, last thing we talked about it, where it's there. And we're going to take the exact same strategy that we did, and this is important for learning these, and if you haven't been doing this with your C fingerings already, it's key that you randomize them, that you just go and like 7 and playing 4, and that's going to be where you attach the fingering more. So that's absolutely something I should have said already, my bad. And something I'm sure I've said a billion times, that our entire approach was that we were going to do them in order first, and then randomize everything. So I'll make a grocery list for you, like what you're doing this week, and that's going to be 2. It's going to be like really learn those note names, or 2, really do the C fingerings with pointing, and then 3, randomize the C fingerings. So now you see where this is going. It's going to be about, I can recall this hand movement and where to point when we move to these other frets. So, and knowing which one is called the number 7 pattern versus a number 4 pattern is essential to our ability to just communicate about this stuff. And that was the step where each one of them becomes an autonomous thing in our head. Is the playing 1, then you can play anything but 2 next. So that's your process. You're going, I'm actually going to memorize these note names, playing the fingerings with the state capital, going sequentially, and then you absolutely cannot go sequentially anymore. Just roll a die, and every other time you hit 6, play 7 or whatever.
Okay.
And that's, this is, I'm basically just saying the same thing I've been saying in all your previous lessons. But yeah, so each one we just need this autonomous hand movement, which is no different from like when this blue scale exists or whatever. So yeah, do that, and then I'll send you an additional video of playing point with somebody else on bass.